You're eating healthy, taking your vitamins, maybe even adding more protein to your meals. You feel like you're doing everything right. But what if I told you that despite all these efforts, your legs might still be getting weaker because of one simple, very common protein mistake? For many women over 60, this mistake happens quietly, day after day, without any obvious warning signs at first. You might notice that stairs feel harder than they used to. Your legs feel heavy after just a short walk. Balance isn't quite as steady as before. You might even tell yourself, well, that's just part of aging. But what if it's not? What if the real culprit is how your body is processing protein, or more accurately, how it's not processing it effectively? You see, after 60, your body undergoes profound changes that directly affect how it builds and maintains muscle. One of the biggest shifts is something we call anabolic resistance. In simple terms, your muscles become less responsive to the protein you eat. That means even if you're consuming what seems like enough protein each day, your body may not be able to use it effectively unless you consume it the right way. And here's where it gets even more concerning. Research shows that most seniors are making the exact same mistake with their protein intake. It's not about how much protein you eat in total, but when you eat it and how you distribute it throughout the day. In fact, this mistake quietly sabotages your muscle recovery every single day, contributing to rapid loss of leg strength, poorer balance, and a much higher risk of falls. And for women over 60, that loss of leg strength is one of the leading predictors of future mobility issues and loss of independence. But there's good news. In this video, I'll reveal the #1 protein mistake that's destroying leg strength. After 60, and more importantly, I'll show you exactly how to fix it, starting today. The solution is surprisingly simple, science-backed, and fully within your control. I've spent over 20 years helping senior women rebuild their leg strength, regain confidence, and stay independent well into their 70s, 80s, and beyond. And every time I address this protein mistake, the results are profound. Better balance, stronger legs, fewer falls, and renewed energy for daily activities. So stay with me, because what you're about to learn could completely change the way you approach your nutrition and directly impact your strength, balance, and independence in the years ahead. But first, let's take a step back and understand why leg strength declines so rapidly after 60, and why your protein intake becomes your most powerful tool. But only if you use it correctly. We often think of aging as a gradual process, a slow, steady decline over many years. But when it comes to muscle strength, particularly in the legs, the reality is much more dramatic. After 60, the rate of muscle loss accelerates significantly. This process has a name, sarcopenia, or age-related muscle loss. Now, sarcopenia doesn't happen overnight. In fact, it often starts as early as your 40s, but after 60, the pace picks up sharply. Women over 60 can lose as much as 3% to 5% of their muscle mass every decade, and for some, the loss is even faster if certain habits, like poor protein timing, go unaddressed. But why is leg strength so critical? Your legs contain some of the largest and most metabolically active muscles in your body, like your quadriceps, hamstrings, and glutes. These muscles aren't just for walking or standing. They're your foundation for balance, stability, and independence. When your leg muscles weaken, your risk of falls skyrockets. Simple activities like climbing stairs, getting up from a chair, or carrying groceries become harder and more dangerous. And here's something most people don't realize. Declines in quadriceps strength are directly linked to fall risk, mobility loss, and even long-term health outcomes. Studies show that seniors with weak quadriceps are more likely to experience hospitalizations, fractures, and loss of independence. But what's driving this loss of leg strength after 60? One of the most important factors is something called reduced muscle protein synthesis, or anabolic resistance. Simply put, your muscles don't respond to protein as efficiently as they once did. In younger adults, consuming protein triggers a strong response. The body readily uses those amino acids to repair and build muscle. But in older adults, the same amount of protein often fails to fully stimulate this process. Imagine trying to water a garden with a hose that's partly canned. You might be supplying plenty of water, but not enough is reaching the roots. That's what anabolic resistance does to your muscles. You're eating protein, but much of it isn't making it to where it's needed for repair and growth. As if that weren't enough, there's another challenge. Your body is constantly breaking down muscle tissue as part of normal metabolism, a process called muscle protein breakdown. To maintain your muscle mass, you need to constantly balance this breakdown with new synthesis. After 60, this balancing act becomes much harder. If synthesis lags behind breakdown for too long, you lose muscle slowly at first, but over time, it adds up to significant loss of strength. This is why daily muscle recovery becomes absolutely essential after 60. Every day you fail to support muscle recovery properly is a day you're potentially losing strength you might never fully regain. But here's the good news, and it's critical. Protein intake becomes your most powerful tool to counteract this decline. However, it's not just about eating more protein. The way you consume protein, the timing, distribution, and quality plays a much bigger role than most people realize. And this brings us directly to the mistake most seniors are making without even knowing it. It's not about how much protein you're eating. It's about when you're eating it and how evenly it's spread throughout your day. We'll get to that in just a moment. Now that we understand how critical protein is after 60, here's where most people, even those trying to eat high-protein diets, go wrong. If you take a moment to think about your typical day, you'll probably recognize this pattern. A light breakfast, maybe some toast or fruit, perhaps coffee with a small snack. Lunch might include some protein, but often it's modest, a salad with a little chicken or tuna. And then finally, dinner is where most of your protein shows up, a piece of salmon, chicken breast, or a hearty meal with multiple protein sources. Sound familiar? You're not alone. In fact, research shows that this exact eating pattern is extremely common among seniors. The bulk of daily protein is consumed at dinner, with very little at breakfast and only moderate amounts at lunch. Here's why that pattern is quietly sabotaging your leg strength. Your body doesn't store protein the way it stores fat or carbohydrates. Instead, it constantly cycles through breakdown and rebuilding of muscle tissue. When you go long stretches, like from dinner all the way through the next morning, without meaningful protein intake, your body slips into a net negative protein balance. In simple terms, muscle breakdown exceeds muscle repair. This becomes especially problematic when you add anabolic resistance into the equation. After 60, your muscles need a stronger signal to activate repair. That signal comes from sufficient amino acids circulating in your bloodstream at the right times. When you skip protein in the morning or spread your protein unevenly across the day, you miss multiple opportunities to trigger muscle protein synthesis when your body most needs it. Think of it like watering that same struggling garden, but only dumping a big bucket of water on it once at night, while the rest of the day the soil stays dry. The plants suffer because they aren't getting consistent, steady nourishment. Your muscles respond the same way. Scientific studies have made this very clear. One notable study published in the Journal of Nutrition compared seniors who consumed their protein evenly across breakfast, lunch, and dinner versus those who loaded most of their protein into dinner. The group with balanced protein distribution experienced significantly greater muscle protein synthesis and better maintenance of lean muscle mass over time. Another study from McGill University found that even moderate increases in protein at breakfast and lunch, when combined with consistent intake throughout the day, helped older adults better preserve muscle strength and function, particularly in the legs. This mistake is so widespread because most nutrition advice focuses on total daily protein intake, not how it's distributed. But for seniors facing anabolic resistance, timing matters just as much as quantity. And here's where things get even more surprising. Missing protein in the morning can set your muscles up for an entire day of suboptimal recovery. When your first meal lacks enough high-quality protein, your muscles essentially start the day in a deficit. And for many seniors, that deficit never gets fully corrected by day's end. But don't worry, in the next section, we're going to explore exactly why protein distribution matters so much after 60 and the fascinating science behind the per meal protein threshold that could change the way you plan your meals. By now, you understand that uneven protein intake across the day can sabotage your muscle strength. But let's go a layer deeper into the science behind why this happens and why it's especially critical after 60. Researchers have discovered something called the per meal protein threshold. and this is where most seniors unknowingly fall short. In simple terms, your muscles require a certain amount of high-quality protein at each meal to fully activate muscle protein synthesis, the process that repairs and rebuilds muscle tissue. If you fall below this threshold, the stimulus is too weak, and your body doesn't fully engage in muscle repair. For healthy younger adults, as little as 15 to 20 grams of protein at a meal may be enough to trigger this response. But for women over 60 who are dealing with anabolic resistance, studies show that this threshold rises to about 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein per meal. This means that those light breakfasts, the toast, fruit, or small yogurt, often contain just 5 to 10 grams of protein. That's far below the threshold needed to trigger muscle repair. So even though you're consuming some protein, your muscles barely respond. And by the time you finally eat a protein-rich dinner, you've missed valuable opportunities earlier. In the day to stimulate growth, a study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition demonstrated this beautifully. Elderly women who consumed 30 grams of protein at each meal showed significantly greater muscle protein synthesis compared to those who consumed most of their protein at dinner. Their muscle-building response was higher, more consistent, and better maintained over time. And here's where the science gets even more fascinating. Morning protein intake appears to have a unique benefit. Consuming 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein within the first hour of waking not only triggers muscle protein synthesis but also primes your muscles for better responsiveness throughout the rest of the day. Think of it like setting the tone for your body's metabolism. A strong protein signal early in the day activates key pathways in your muscles that remain more sensitive for hours afterward. This can amplify the benefits of your lunch and dinner protein intake as well, creating a compounding effect. By contrast, if you skip meaningful protein at breakfast, you essentially start your day behind, and your muscles have to play catch-up all day long, often unsuccessfully. You might be wondering, why hasn't this been emphasized more in general nutrition advice? The answer lies in the difference between recommendations for weight loss or general health versus the specific needs of aging muscle preservation. For seniors, especially women, concerned about maintaining leg strength, balance, and independence, the per meal protein threshold becomes one of the most powerful levers you can control. In a way, it's empowering because, while we can't stop the natural aging process, we can directly influence how well our muscles continue to function simply by adjusting how we structure our protein intake. But protein distribution is only part of the picture. Next, we need to look closely at something just as important: protein quality. Because not all protein sources are equally effective for your muscles, especially after 60. And what you're about to learn may surprise you. ATING, science behind the per meal protein threshold that could change the way you plan your meals. By now, you understand that when you consume protein and how you distribute it throughout the day makes a major difference after 60. But here's another layer most people overlook. Not all proteins are created equal. You see, your muscles don't just need any protein. They need specific amino acids, the building blocks of protein, to trigger muscle repair. And one amino acid, in particular, plays a starring role: leucine. Leucine acts like the ignition switch for muscle protein synthesis. Without enough leucine in your bloodstream, your body simply doesn't activate the muscle-building machinery efficiently. This is why protein quality becomes even more important as you age, because high leucine proteins provide the strongest stimulus for preserving and rebuilding muscle. Let's break this down with some practical examples. The best sources of high leucine muscle-supporting protein include eggs, one of nature's most complete proteins. Just 2 large eggs provide about 12 grams of protein with excellent leucine content. Whey protein, often considered the gold standard. Whey is rapidly absorbed, rich in leucine, and extremely effective for stimulating muscle repair. Greek yogurt, packed with casein and whey proteins, delivering a steady release of amino acids. Lean poultry, such as chicken or turkey breast, offering high-quality protein with minimal saturated fat. Fish, like salmon, tuna, or cod, which provide not only excellent protein but also healthy omega-3 fats that further support muscle health. Soy, one of the few plant-based proteins with a favorable leucine profile, making it an excellent option for those avoiding animal products. On the other hand, Some protein sources, while popular, don't provide the same benefit when it comes to preserving leg strength after 60. For example, collagen powders. These have gained enormous popularity for skin, joints, and hair. But as a primary protein source for muscle building, they fall short. Collagen is low in essential amino acids like leucine, and it lacks the complete profile your muscles need. Processed protein bars, many contain added sugars, fillers, and lower quality protein blends that may not deliver an optimal amino acid profile. This doesn't mean you need to avoid these entirely. Collagen can still support joint and skin health, but it shouldn't replace your core high leucine protein sources. If your goal is to rebuild and preserve muscle strength, and here's a key point, many women over 60 don't hear often enough. Protein quality becomes even more important as you age, because your body's efficiency in utilizing protein declines. It's like needing a stronger signal to get the same result. Lower quality proteins may have been good enough in your 30s or 40s, but after 60, your muscles require a sharper, more targeted signal, which comes from consuming the right proteins in the right amounts at the right times. The good news is that these high-quality protein sources are easy to include in your daily routine. A simple breakfast of Greek yogurt with some whey protein mixed in, a lunch with lean poultry or fish, and a dinner featuring eggs or tofu can easily help you reach your daily targets. But even with the right types of protein, failing to time your intake properly allows a silent danger to continue draining your strength day after day. In the next section, we'll explore the silent muscle erosion caused by protein imbalance and why this gradual loss often goes unnoticed until serious mobility problems arise. One of the most dangerous aspects of age-related muscle loss is how quietly it happens. There's no sudden warning bell, no sharp pain or obvious sign. The erosion of your leg strength often begins years before you notice anything. The time you do, significant damage may have already occurred. This is why we call it silent muscle erosion. When your protein intake is poorly timed or unbalanced, your body slowly enters a daily cycle where muscle breakdown consistently outpaces muscle repair. Every day you miss your per meal protein threshold. You allow a small deficit to accumulate. And while that deficit may seem trivial in the moment, over months and years, it compounds dramatically. Visualize this like a slow leak in a tire. First, you barely notice. The car still drives fine, but over time, the tire loses pressure, performance declines, and eventually, you face a dangerous situation if it's not addressed. Your muscles operate the same way, and your legs, being responsible for most of your daily movement, are especially vulnerable. But the danger isn't simply about shrinking muscle size. It's about what types of muscle fibers are lost first. Your legs contain different types of muscle fibers. Type I fibers are endurance-oriented. They support prolonged low-intensity activities like walking. Type II fibers, on the other hand, are responsible for power, balance, and quick movements. Things like catching yourself when you trip or rising quickly from a chair. Unfortunately, Type II fast-twitch fibers are the first to erode when your protein intake and muscle repair are inadequate. This loss directly impacts your balance and stability, making falls, fractures, and hospitalizations much more likely. Studies have shown that seniors with significant Type II fiber loss not only struggle with mobility but also face dramatically higher risks of long-term disability and loss of independence. And what's especially troubling is how slowly this loss occurs at first. Silently undermining your confidence and strength. Year after year, you may start to notice feeling less steady on uneven ground, needing to use your hands to rise from chairs, shortening your walking distance because your legs tire faster, struggling with stairs that once felt easy. These are not just normal signs of aging. They are warning signs of ongoing muscle erosion that can often be reversed if caught early and addressed correctly. And at the core of this silent decline is the daily failure to supply your muscles with the right fuel, high-quality protein, at the right times to fully activate muscle protein synthesis. But here's the empowering part. You can absolutely turn this around, even if you've already noticed some loss of strength. Research shows that properly adjusting your protein intake, combined with light resistance training, can rebuild lost muscle fibers, strengthen your legs, and dramatically reduce your fall risk. In the next section, I'll give you a simple, actionable blueprint, the 5-step protein plan to rebuild leg strength. After 60, this is exactly what I recommend to my patients, and when followed consistently, the results can be life. Now that you understand the science behind protein timing, distribution, and quality, let's turn knowledge into action. Here's a simple, highly effective 5-step plan you can start implementing today to help rebuild your leg strength, preserve, balance, and protect your independence. Step 1. Evenly distribute protein across 3 meals. The single biggest mistake we've discussed is uneven protein intake, stacking most of it at dinner while breakfast and lunch are protein-poor. Your goal is simple. Spread your protein intake evenly across breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This gives your muscles multiple opportunities throughout the day to activate, repair, and growth. Every meal becomes a chance to fight muscle loss. If you aim for 75 to 90 grams of total protein daily, that breaks down to about 25 to 30 grams per meal, the sweet spot for overcoming anabolic resistance in women over 60. Step 2. Aim for 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal. Why this number? Because research consistently shows that after 60, you need at least 25 grams of high-quality protein in a single meal to effectively stimulate muscle protein synthesis. This doesn't require complex meal plans. Here are some simple meal examples. Breakfast: Greek yogurt, 15 grams. A scoop of whey protein, 20 grams. Topped with chia seeds. Lunch: grilled chicken breast, 30 grams with vegetables and quinoa. Dinner: baked salmon, 25 grams, roasted sweet potatoes, and a side of steamed broccoli. Small adjustments like adding a protein shake, an extra egg, or a few ounces of lean meat can easily bring you to your target. Step 3. Prioritize. High-leucine proteins daily. Not all proteins are equally effective. Your muscles need proteins rich in leucine, the amino acid that triggers muscle repair. Make these foods your daily staples. Eggs: whey protein, Greek yogurt, fish lean, poultry, soy proteins. While collagen powders and processed protein bars may sound convenient, they often fall short for preserving leg strength. Use them as supplements, not primary sources. Step 4. Include morning protein within 1 hour of waking. This step is absolutely critical and most overlooked. Consuming a high-quality protein-rich meal within 60 minutes of waking primes your muscles for better responsiveness all day long. Think of it as turning on your muscle-building machinery. Early skipping breakfast, or settling for coffee and toast leaves your muscles starved after the long overnight fast. This is one of the most damaging habits for seniors trying to maintain leg strength. Even something as simple as a whey protein shake or eggs with Greek yogurt can make a huge difference when consumed early. Step 5. Combine protein intake with light resistance training. Protein gives your muscles the raw materials for repair, but resistance training provides the signal that tells your body where to use it. You don't need heavy weights or a gym membership. Simple exercises like bodyweight squats chair, rises step-ups, resistance bands for leg extensions, FMS, 15 to 20 minutes of light resistance training 3 to 4 times per week can dramatically amplify your muscle-building response, especially when combined with the optimized protein strategy you've just learned. This combination, balanced protein intake plus targeted resistance, is one of the most effective, evidence-based ways to rebuild lost muscle fibers, improve balance, and reduce fall risk. And most importantly, it's never too late to start. Studies have shown that even seniors in their 70s and 80s can experience significant improvements in leg strength with these simple changes. Now, let's pull everything together. In the final section, I'll summarize exactly why this protein mistake is so dangerous and how fixing it can completely change your health trajectory after 60. We've covered a lot today, but let's bring it all back to one simple truth. Protein isn't just about quantity, it's about timing, distribution, and quality, especially after 60. You now understand how easily the most common protein mistake, loading most of your protein into dinner while skipping or minimizing protein at breakfast, silently erodes your leg strength over time. You've seen how anabolic resistance makes it harder for your muscles to respond to protein as you age, how failing to meet the per meal protein threshold limits muscle repair, and how poor protein distribution allows type 2 fast-twitch fibers, the ones responsible for balance and quick reactions, to quietly vanish. But you've also learned something far more important. This is fixable by evenly distributing high-quality, Lucerne-rich protein across your meals, starting your day with strong protein intake, and combining it with simple resistance exercises, you can powerfully stimulate muscle protein synthesis even after 60. This isn't about chasing some unrealistic promise of reversing aging. It's about giving your body exactly what it needs to maintain strength, prevent falls, and keep you doing the things you love, whether that's gardening, traveling, playing with grandchildren, or simply feeling steady and confident every time you rise from a chair. For over 2 decades, I've worked with women just like you, and I've seen firsthand how correcting this one habit transforms lives. Leg strength returns, balance improves, confidence grows, independence is preserved. And that's what this is really about. Independence. If you've been missing protein in the morning or cramming it all into one meal, you are not alone. Most seniors make this mistake, but now you have the knowledge. To correct it, I invite you to take action, starting today. Look at your daily meals. Identify where your protein gaps exist. Make small adjustments, add Greek yogurt to breakfast, include a mid-morning whey protein shake, build balanced lunches, and bring intention to your dinner plates. And of course, leave a comment below sharing where you've struggled with protein timing or what adjustments you plan to make. I read every comment and am here to support your journey. If you found this video helpful, be sure to subscribe for more doctor-backed guidance tailored specifically for senior health. Your strength, balance, and independence matter. Have the power to protect them, because after 60, your muscles are still listening. The right choices made consistently can make all the difference.